Hey everybody, in this video we're going to discuss the looks section of the Scratch programming software. All right. Now for each instruction in the looks command, we're going to, for the majority, we're going to use the when green flag is clicked event to trigger these instructions. But understand all of these instructions can also be applied to the when the space bar is pressed, or when can be applied to when any key is pressed on the keyboard, and to the when sprite is clicked feature. Right. We're just using the when green flag is clicked for the majority for simplicity, to keep things simple. All right, now the first instruction is the say blank command for blank seconds. So right now it says say hello for 2 seconds. So now when I press the green flag, a quote bubble with the word hello in it appears for 2 seconds. And of course I can increase the number of seconds or decrease it. It's up to you. Just know that when I choose it, that quote bubble will appear for the amount of time you specify. Next, you have the say command, where it simply says say a word and nothing about the time. Let's change it up. Let's say bye, double exclamation point. Now, because it simply says say, when I hit the green flag, the quote bubble will appear and then it'll stay there until the program ends. Because again, for this one, we don't specify a time. We simply say to say it. So you'll decide when you start making your programs, which one is more appropriate for your application, whether you want the quote bubble to appear permanently or for a certain amount of time. And the two think instructions work the same way. The only difference is that for the think instructions, a think bubble will appear. So we notice there's a difference between the think bubble and the quote bubble. The think bubble has two little small circles to give that smoke, that appearance of smoke or a cloud, if you say. All right. Same for the plain think instruction. Again, the think bubble will appear, but then it'll appear and then stay on the canvas until the end of the program. All right, let's put these away. Next, you have switch costume. All right, so switch costume has to do with changing the appearance of your cat. What I mean by changing appearance, right now, the cat appears to be walking. Okay. Now it's possible we may have a picture of that same cat in the directory, but it's sitting down, or maybe we have a picture in the directory of the cat jumping up, or maybe we have a picture in the directory of the cat wearing a jacket. Okay. Or maybe we want the cat to transform from a cat to a dragon, from a cat to a monkey. Whatever kind of transformation you want to do, that's what the switch costume feature is for, and it's generally used for animations. Okay? And then here, when you say switch costume to, you simply put the costume you wanted to switch to. So right now, as you can see, when I hit the green flag, it switched to another pose of the cat. Right? And if I say go back to costume 1, it goes back to what it was before. All right. So with switch costume, you're picking precisely which costume you want it to change to. Right now, we only have 2 in the directory, but it is possible to have more, and we'll discuss how to do that as we move further along in the unit. Then the next one, you have next costume. Next costume simply means switch to the next costume in the sequence. So whereas with the switch costume, you're telling exactly which costume you want to go to, next costume simply goes to the next one in line. Okay? There's no explicit choice. Okay? And then the same logic applies for the switch backdrop and the next backdrop instructions, okay? Where backdrop is just another word for background. With the switch backdrop, you're specifying which precise background you want to switch to, whereas next backdrop simply goes to the next one in sequence, or next one in line, if you will. Next, you have the change size feature. Now, notice that our sprite has a default size of 100. Now, it doesn't tell us the unit of measurement. Maybe it's 100 pixels or 100 millimeters. We don't know. Just know that it's 100 something. The unit of measurement is unknown. Regardless, whatever it is, change size will increase that size by 10. So when we say change size by, when I hit the green flag, as you can see, the size of the sprite increased and the number went up by 10. And that happens every time I press the green flag. Obviously, when I make the number bigger, the size will increase by a larger amount. And if I want to shrink the cat, the -30, I'll put a negative number so that the size will go down each time I press the green flag. All right. Now let's go back to our original size of 100 and explain the next feature, set size. Okay. Now this has to do with scaling. And so the goal is the same. You're still shrinking or growing the cat, but you're doing so by scale. Now, if I say set size to 100% of its current size, that won't change anything. That keeps the size the same. However, if I say set size to 50% of its current size, that decreases the size in half. Notice the size now says 50. Okay. Likewise, let's say I put the size back to 100. Then I say set size to 200% of its current size. That doubles the size of the cat. So now, right now, the size is 100. When I click the green flag, the size is now 200. Okay. So change size, set size, they both have to do with shrinking and growing your sprite. It's just one does by increasing the number by a certain amount, and the other one does by percentage scale. Next, you have the change color or change effect by. Okay, and now just as the size has a specific number associated with it, so do these attributes: the color of the sprite, the fisheye of the sprite, the world, the pixelate, the mosaic, brightness, ghost. Just like when you have a TV and you go up to on your remote control, you can control the brightness of your TV with by manipulating the number. Same for these sprites. Okay. Now, on your own time, you can demonstrate what each of these mean. The point is that each of these features all have an associate number, and you can change that number. You can either increase or decrease that number to modify those attributes. So, for example, if I say change color effect by 1, when I select the green flag, it'll slightly change the color. And the larger the number I select, the larger the number I put, the more significant the change is. So when I say change the color effect by 10, as you can see, it's a much bigger change. Okay. Then you have the set color effect. Set color, again, when you say change something, you're saying take the current value and increase it by this amount. Whereas if you say set, you're saying set the numerical value to this exact value. So if I say set color effect to 0, 0 is the original color. I can set it to whatever number I want. If I say set it to 15, that's what it becomes, so on and so forth. And again, this can be done for any of these 7 features. Okay. And then, of course, the clear graphic effects, we use that to undo any changes we made to these 7 features. Any changes that are made to these 7 features, clear graphic effects resets all of it. All right. So it's kind of like a reset button. Next, you have the show and the hide buttons. Now, by default, your sprite is showing. Let me set the size back to what it was before, 100. Now, by default, the sprite is showing. It appears. If I want to hide it, if I want to make it disappear, I use the hide feature. Okay? So now when the green flag is clicked, it disappears. Then if I say, when the space bar is pressed, show, when I press space, it appears. When I click the green flag, disappears. Press space, appears. So on and so forth. So the show and hide feature has to do with making your sprite appear and disappear and reappear when you want it to. Then you have the go to front layer command. Suppose I have more than one sprite on the screen. For example, I'll choose Abby as my second sprite. Okay. Notice that here, Abby at the moment is currently on top of the cat. That means Abby is currently the front layer. Okay. So what I can do, I can tell the sprite when the green flag is clicked, go to the front layer. That means go to the top. So when I hit the green flag, Abby's now at the top. Likewise, I could say when the space bar is pressed, go to the back layer. That'll tell the cat sprite to move to the back. So when I press sprite, Abby's now behind. When I press the green flag, it's in front. When I press space, it's behind. So the go-to front and back layer simply has to do with, do you want this sprite to be at the front or the back? Then you have the go forward amount. This is when you would use this if you have more than 2 sprites, right? And maybe you don't want the sprite to be the front layer, but you don't want it to be the back layer either. Maybe you want it to be the third layer or the second layer. You can use this feature to specify just how far in the front or how far in the back you want the sprite to be. All right. And then these last three features down here, costume and backdrop size. These have to do with the variables, which we'll discuss more when we get to the variable unit of the course. Thank you.